final day, day 7. This is the Supine Swim. So you are on your back, facing up. This one's very focused on breathing, but also really focuses the neck. And I'll be honest, I felt this a lot in my hamstrings, especially in my right, because that's my weaker leg, and it causes me a lot of problems because of my foot injuries and the surgery on my right ankle. So you might notice these imbalances during these exercises. I also feel it in my right occipital, so that's right at the base of the skull where I had shingles in the past. There's a lot of scar tissue there. A lot of you guys might have similar type of adhesions and injuries that you're going to feel with this one. You might notice that I alternate between having my head just hovering right off the ground versus letting it rest. Either way, you're going to get a lot of beneficial. You're going to feel this a lot in the neck because as you bring your arms up, it really just puts all that pressure on the neck. And you get better at that the more you do it. If the arms are just coming up too easily, you're probably bending or distorting the spine somewhere. You should feel you're hitting this wall right at the end where you can't really get your hands to the ground. So it all depends on your intention there. There's a lot of different moving pieces that you might be able to see here. The feet, the legs, the arms all moving together, all focused around the breathing. So everything is timed with the inhale and the exhale. But you can rest your head to start. That might be a better place than trying to hover it. Definitely don't want to be lifting the head too much. It shouldn't be drifting forward. Again, it's always about ear, shoulder, hip in a straight line. If you notice that you have too much rounding in your thoracic curve and your head falls into extension, it's leaning back too much, then you can prop it up, either fold up the end of the mat so your head is level. And that'll come in time. We'll work on those distortions. Definitely, no matter what age you are, you can get changes in this one. So let me break this down with what we're doing. You can see that the toes are dorsiflexing, pulling in as I inhale, a little bend in the knee, and then they're pronating, pushing, and as we exhale. So that's timed. Arms come down, arms come up, arms, feet come in, arms and feet push away, all with the breathing. So this one's going to take you longer to get through, and you might want to break this up throughout the day. Just doing 25 of these can be pretty intense, so take your time to break it up as you feel. With the breathing, we're not letting the belly come out, it's kind of staying contracted. The rib cage is really expanded this whole time. So in the inhale, we're expanding into the rib cage, blowing it up like a big balloon. The chest puffs up, not so much the belly coming out. Even when we exhale, we're trying to keep all that rib expansion. So this is going to challenge the whole spine together, whole body active stretch, just like the rest of the stuff. Okay, guys? As far as the arms go, think about really pinning your shoulder blades down. You can try it as what I did there, which is more of a lift, so palms up instead of the sphere of tension we were doing before, which is the fingertips together. You'll notice that both hit a little bit differently. You won't be able to get the arms up quite as much with the palms up, but you're going to hit those shoulders better, keeping that broad chest. We're not trying to cave the back end, and the ground's going to help you with that. That's why you want to do this on something nice and firm. So now gravity is working with you. So those distortions in the spine, rounded curve, everything can be flattened down. So this really helps you get level with the ground. And like I said, you could hack this if you feel like you're not very level. The big thing is not letting that head come back, because then we can't target those neck muscles that we need to in the front of the neck. So a lot of things stretching here. This should feel really kind of painful at the base of the skull, really uncomfortable. So that's normal. It might even feel like joint tissue, and it is. There's so much restrictions there. As a chiropractor, I'm working always on the neck and usually up top. Very rigid, very tight. That's where a lot of headaches come from. And if you think about it, that's right where your brain stem is. So if there's chronic compression there, there's tension there, that's all stress on your nervous system. And since that's up so high, it has the ability to affect everything. A lot of times sciatica actually comes from the neck. Think about the whole spinal cord being pulled on. It's going to possibly affect every nerve root. So you can't just think about, well, where the pain is coming down your leg. That could be affecting your organs, which aren't going to necessarily hurt like muscles will, or your extremities will. So we can think about that neck affecting our heart and our lungs and our digestive system, vagus nerve, sympathetic state, all this stuff that I talk about. And that's the whole reason behind these exercises, to show you, hey, that they work And it's not just about getting out of pain. You're going to notice everything is functioning better. Your whole body, you're going to have less stress, you're going to have more energy. And if you want to know the science behind it, I understand. So you first I'm trying to prove it to you that it works, and then you can look into the science more, and you can watch more of my videos like Mastering the Art of the Hip Hinge, which I talk about what exactly we're doing, what is going on here, why are we doing this, why does this work, why is movement so important. It's more, fixing things in the inside, and then everything you're putting into the body outside in, like your food, be absorbed better, work better for you. Toxic foods will have less of effect on you. You'll be able to handle that slice of pizza or that burger every once in a while without it completely destroying you. People take diet to this point where they're just babying themselves. Your bodies are stronger than that. They should be stronger than that. We shouldn't be being affected by everything, instead of like kale. And you notice that my feet, the big toes are together, and the heels are apart, so they're pulling up, and that helps give a little bit of a squeeze in the thighs. We're not trying to cave in the knees too much. It's more, you should feel that in the hip region, kind of pulling those hips in, because most hips like to turn out, and that way you'll be resting a little bit more on your glutes and putting that muscle in a stretch position. And that just helps the engagement of that iliopsoas muscle, which is the deep hip flexor attached to the lumbar spine. It also helps with our hip hinging motions. All of these exercises in some way incorporated that iliopsoas engaging, but not only engaging, but engaging in a proper position, which is a little bit more lengthened than most people. It's just an angry, aggravated muscle. Most people think it's too tight. It's usually that it's just not being engaged right. We'll see different distortions in the spine depending on what the iliopsoas is doing. We'll see like an S curve in the lumbar spine or a flattening of it. If it's imbalanced or if it's overworked, we'll see more of like upper cross, lower cross syndrome, where the butt, you got the duck butt going on, anterior pelvic tilt, and your body. A lot of people, you'll notice, will kind of either tend to do that position, which we call athletic hip, or it'll tilt posteriorly and the whole pelvic structure will shift forward. And actually see that as something that's a little bit more common in people, especially people who are working on themselves. Upper cross, lower cross syndrome I see in people who are just generally kind of lazy with their posture and exercise, whereas posterior pelvic tilt is people who are kind of shoulder dominant, using the shoulders to lift up their spine instead of actually getting their hips underneath them, engaging, creating a springboard for the whole spine to lift up. So that requires A, getting the hips underneath you, and B, getting that pelvis out of the posterior pelvic tilt, which is loosening up the hamstrings.